right. Hi, I'm Domini. I am a senior studying biomedical engineering from Kahului, Hawaii, and I will be reacting to some videos today.
Hi everyone, I'm Shannon. I'm a sophomore double majoring in computer science and quantitative biology, and today I'm going to be reacting to some college films.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily London. I'm a sophomore majoring in electrical and computer engineering at the University of Southern California, and today I'm going to be reacting to some college videos.
Ready position.
Okay.
Common crouch. I want to see matted fur and yellow teeth. Basic style.
All right.
Show me some slobber.
I don't know how this is studying. I won't lie. This is not a familiar
Now
sight.
here is a monster who looks like a scarer. You want a hope of passing this class, you better eat, breathe, and sleep scary.
College starts in September for them? Oh man, we start in August.
To be honest, I don't think I've actually ever looked for books at USC's library at all. I only Google things.
Oh, this actually makes me really sad. I miss having libraries around, study spaces. I miss USC campus. Ooh, this just reminds me of USC football games.
This makes me sad because of coronavirus and no one can do any of this anymore or sit in stadiums together. But still, very fun.
We really don't shout out answers in lecture anymore.
Oh, and our gym is way nicer than that. Our USC Village gym, I used to go to that all the time. Way nicer than this gym here.
I really vibe with Mike Wazowski. I think that his energy is very relatable, I would say. The way he's short, he's just trying his best. Very admirable. Look at him go.
See, it's very rare to get an A on tests in college because things are curved.
He's really just going. He's just working hard, doing his thing. He's got his work-study job. He's studying. He's working out. Honestly, good for him, really.
Reminds me of my one day of yoga class.
Although I do wish that studying was just as easy as being able to do like scary poses. I think that would make my life better.
So our first clip was from Monsters University. Initial thoughts. What did you think about the scene that you just watched?
Oh, it was so funny. It brings me back to my childhood days. But honestly, it had a lot of similarity to college. I mean, the professor was really mean, and we don't have mean professors. But I thought, the football games, the studying with people in libraries, doing on-campus jobs, going to football games, that's all very real things in college.
I thought it was really cute. It was very different from what actual college is. We don't have like scaring classes or anything like that. Those would be really fun. Studying is usually more textbook based instead of physical. But it seemed a little accurate with the like bits of social dynamic in there. I mean, you make friends with the people in your classes. Sometimes they do better than you on tests and things. But it's all about forming study groups with those people.
I thought, it did a good job of kind of capturing the brighter sides of the college experience. I would say that I am not as diligent nor as like well paced. Like he had his calendar, he was very organized, he had his planner, he was running around doing it all. Meanwhile, the other one, the blue one, I don't remember the blue one's name. I'm sorry. I've watched Monsters University before, but it was like a very long time ago. And Monsters Inc., which is what this is based off of. But like he, I guess, was not doing as much and did poorer for it. I would say that that's not as like relatable because there's definitely those kids in class who don't do anything, and yet somehow every time like come out with like 100%. Like there's always that one kid in class who like never comes to class, never shows up, and yet every time just like takes the test in like 30 minutes, walks out and gets like a perfect score. And I feel like he would be that kid, but that wasn't as described here. So I'd say that's the only discrepancy.
In the scene we just watched, it definitely highlighted the competitive spirits between Mike and Sully. Sully is the blue guy we were talking about. So do you feel like there's a similar competitive environment at USC and Viterbi in particular?
I would say Viterbi is much more collaborative. I feel like freshman year, everyone had a little bit of that competitive spirit, but like I think the harder the classes get, the more people realize like you need to really work together to get through them. I don't think that was as like highlighted in this movie because like I like they didn't see any study groups or anything, and I feel like that is a big part of like Viterbi is like studying with people and like working with people to like get things done. So I think that is like the only difference. I'm sure it's a little competitive, but it's not like nearly as like, oh, I got an A plus, like walking out of the room with like your test grade. I would never do that. I don't think anyone would ever do that. I think they would just, I don't think anyone would appreciate that, but good for him nonetheless.
In the clip, we saw a montage of Mike studying for his final and being on top of absolutely everything. Are your study habits similar, and do you start studying for your midterms and finals that early on?
I actually do. So I learned quickly. I think my freshman first semester I didn't. And I learned quickly that you can't just study the day before, or even sometimes like 2 days before is cutting it kind of close. For me, I like to study like sometimes even like 4 or 5 days before and just like even it out so I don't have to cram all in one night or one day.
The last thing I want to talk about is this trend I noticed when I started watching this movie as a college student. Before college, I definitely wouldn't have noticed this before, but when Sully and Mike first start their classes, it definitely seems like Sully knows more material and he has more experience with the major. Over the course of the semester, though, Mike studies and works really hard to the point where he's doing really well in the same classes. I feel like I can relate to this a lot because when I started, there were definitely people in my major who already knew what they were doing, and I always felt like they were more experienced than me. Do you feel like you relate to this at all?
Oh, for sure. I switched into CS my freshman year, and I'd done a little bit of programming before, but never in C++. I'd never really done anything of the sort from what we learned in like 103, CS 103. So it was kind of strange to see that parallel in this animated movie. Because I definitely felt that there were people that came in with years of programming experience and were just kind of breezing through things. But by the end of it, they didn't have some of the concepts down because they were like, I already know how to program. I don't need to go to lecture or class or whatever. But in the end, like it paid off to go to class and ask questions and like talk to the professor about things because I definitely feel like I have a better grasp of like actual underlying things going on in a computer than someone who's just like, I already know how to program. It doesn't matter what's going on in the computer if I know how to use it. Yeah.
All right, Good Will Hunting scene math problem. I have not seen this movie before, but I would like to say I know so many people who have told me like this is their favorite movie of all time. Mostly men. I don't know what that means. I'm just gonna put that out there. All right.
Is this my imagination, or has my class grown considerably? Well, by no stretch of my imagination.
This classroom is packed.
Or rather to ascertain the identity of the mystery.
I think my largest class size in college was around maybe like nearly 100, 80 to 100. That was in my life science classes. But the classroom is not super cramped like this. We have a nice lecture hall.
Oh, linear algebra. Pain.
Well, I'm sorry to
Pain. Right off the bat, I'm just going to say that hurts me. I saw eigenvalue. I don't want to. Pain.
However, my colleagues
I recognize that math. I remember doing that at the end of high school and the beginning of freshman year.
More than 2 years to prove.
There's no way. There's no way that took 2 years to prove. That's like.
I don't understand how math professors can just spend their time proving things. Sounds like so much work.
Luckily, we have some nice sunny weather in Los Angeles. We don't have rain and wet streets, hardly ever. Rain is actually kind of an exciting event in LA.
Interesting diagrams. I haven't seen anything like that.
Sorry. What do you do? Sorry.
And why is he so angry? He was just like doing math on the whiteboard. I don't know what he's like mad about.
Oh, you're a clever one.
I'm very
What's your name?
confused as to why he's so bothered by all of this. Like, did he think he was just trying to mess around? Like, no one in their right mind is like, oh, I'm gonna play a prank by trying to like mess up a math problem.
All these clips have very strict, austere professors. My professors were not scary.
Maybe I just don't know math that well, but this just does not seem all that profound. But I think good for him for like knowing that.
Okay, so this clip that we just saw was from Good Will Hunting, a film that was released in 1997. The first thing I want to talk about is I need you to get a pen and a paper because you're going to have to solve that linear algebra problem.
Oh, shoot. No, I've been dissing it the whole time. Okay. Now I'm going to be like tested on this. Dang. All right, let's go.
Just kidding. You're not actually going to have to solve the problem.
Oh, I was ready to go. Okay.
You were prepared.
I was prepared. I have a pen. All right.
Okay, with everybody taking classes from a different environment, I thought it would be really great to talk about what a lecture hall actually looked like because students aren't able to necessarily visit campus right now. I feel like the lecture hall in this clip resembled SGM really well. It was definitely smaller, but it's pretty much the normal layout for a lecture hall. When you were in lectures, was it always that crowded?
I would say no. I think, to be fair, I only had like 2 semesters of in-person and then my last semester got cut off short. But like my biggest class, in fact, I had like a linear algebra class like that, I would say. And I think it was like 50 people in a room, and like it wasn't in a lecture hall like that. Like it wasn't that big. I'd say for most of like my core engineering classes, even my math classes have always been like 30 people maximum. Like it's crowded, but it's not like that big. But I do know that there are definitely some classes that like are like 100 people in a lecture hall like that. I just haven't like bumped into one myself.
In this clip, we see that a professor is waiting for one of his students to admit that they solved the problem. You can definitely feel the tension and pressure in that scene, but in normal lectures at USC, whenever you're going to answer a question or ask a question, do you feel that kind of overwhelming pressure or nervousness at all?
For the most part, no. The professors tend to be very understanding of like, if you don't understand what's happening or if you thought about something in a wrong manner, they're very like, oh, well, that's wrong, but I see how you got that. Or can you explain how you got that so I can tell you where you went wrong?
One of the biggest concerns for a lot of students with bigger class sizes is the fact that they won't have opportunities or time to get to know their professors and get help. In your larger classes, has this been the case?
No, like I said, I go to office hours, and if you go pretty regularly, I mean, you get to know the professor. Obviously, I probably know my biomedical engineering professors better than the classes that I have, nearly 100 students. But I still get to talk to the professor, and yeah, you definitely are not just a number or just some name on a huge list.
The law is reason free
Legally
from
Blonde.
passion.
Oh, I love
Does
Legally
anyone
Blonde.
know who spoke those immortal words?
There's always that person in class.
Aristotle.
Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're annoying. But I love the confidence.
Are you sure?
Yes?
Would you be willing to stake your life on it?
I think so.
Okay, I've never had a professor ask
What
that.
about his life?
I like her though. Like, look at her facial expressions. Look at her
I don't
outfit.
know.
She's just coming at it.
I recommend knowing before speaking. The law leaves much
Yeah,
room
no professor
for
has said that to a student in my
very
experience.
little.
They usually really appreciate when students participate, whether they're right or wrong or really wrong.
It was Aristotle.
I remember having to memorize Aristotle quotes
Now,
for
I
my
assume
GE.
all of you have read pages 1 through 48
And like
and
he
are
said,
now well versed in
like he
subject
said the
matter
right answer,
jurisdiction.
like what was the point of
Who
that?
can tell us
And this is
about
Harvard,
Gordon
right? Like
versus
how much
Steele?
money does he
Let's
spend to be
call
here?
on someone
How much
from
time
the
did he spend on
Harvard.
the LSATs? Like he's really trying his best.
Yeah, professors definitely do code calling sometimes when there's not a lot of participation. I always get really nervous when professors decide to go down the list and just call someone.
Actually, I wasn't aware that we had an assignment.
Also, well, they do call on you randomly sometimes, but like in smaller classes, not really in bigger ones like this.
Professors and lecturers very rarely call on a specific person. They just ask for people to raise their hands to avoid that awkward confrontation.
Ms. Woods is not prepared?
No. I don't.
And professors don't put students against students. That is a big no-no.
She is prepared?
Absolutely.
There's no camaraderie with these students. That's not how it is at like in class. I've never seen this like negativity so overtly, at least.
Yeah, nothing in this clip is representative of real college. Not a USC anyway.
No, it did not.
I take it back. I don't like the professor.
Our final clip is from Legally Blonde, a film that was released in 2001. And for those of you who don't know, it was filmed at USC. I feel like everyone has either seen this movie or is at least aware of it. So when you watched this movie for the first time, what were your initial thoughts about college in general?
I thought college was going to be crazy competitive and definitely like kind of terrifying. That whole situation of like an entirely silent lecture hall and people kind of out to get you, that petrified me. I was like, definitely don't want to go into law after seeing that.
I guess I thought college was like intense like that. Like the professor really just like called her out like for no reason and it was just being really aggressive to everyone in the class. So I guess I thought that like it would be super aggressive like that. Like the professors are kind of out to get you. It's kind of like in high school where they're like, oh, this type of stuff won't fly in college, even though like it does. But like they say it won't and it's like so much more intense.
I definitely was scared of college. I think for multiple reasons. One, the professor is really mean and she really puts students against students, which is scary. Also, the code calling is really scary. And just like the idea of like not being prepared and being called out like that.
Going back to the clip, like we can clearly see that the professor's being super strict. Have you had any classes or professors where you knew you needed to be prepared for their class, whether that meant you had to be on time or you had to read material? And have you ever seen professors that were really strict like that?
Yes, but not to that degree. Like that's definitely hyperbolic. Like I've never seen a professor be like, oh, are you sure that you're right? Like anything like that, or just like that antagonistic. Also to like antagonize a student like that is just kind of disrespectful. Like we're all adults here to a degree, which I think like most professors respect that at this point in time. Like to be like, oh, do you agree that she should leave? I do, however, know like my writing professor was very much like, if you're not prepared for this class, then like you will have to leave. Like if you haven't done the readings or if you haven't like done the homework, like you will leave. But like that was never ever enforced or ever like done, really.
In the clip, obviously it's very clear Elle wasn't aware that there was an assignment. This has definitely happened to me more than a couple of times. Has it happened to you? And were there any really serious consequences because you forgot about an assignment?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a specific scenario right now, but I mean, yeah, definitely you forget there's a lot going on in college. You're bound to kind of forget at one point or another. I don't think there's serious consequences. Obviously, sometimes, your grade will be affected, but nothing really like you come to class. Usually you turn stuff in, online. So nothing where you come to class and you face the consequences in class like that.
Based on these clips that we just watched, which would you say was the most realistic and which was the least realistic in terms of the college experience?
I would say Monsters University is probably the most realistic one.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think the Monsters University clip was the most realistic.
I think the first one, even though I know that sounds funny, you know, Monsters Inc. and like the animations, definitely those aren't realistic, but just the idea of all of the different scenarios they brought up with students studying, preparing for finals, you know, like going to different college activities and events. That's definitely realistic, just like the livelihood of it.
Let's see, the least realistic. That would probably be, at least in my experience, Legally Blonde. I haven't had any classes that were anywhere near that competitive or serious. None of my professors would go so far as to make someone feel uncomfortable and a little threatened in class. That's just overkill, in my opinion.
Thanks for watching, and if you have any ideas on what we should react to next, please comment below.